evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakely will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to PSGL PCF3. We'll be heading over to the North Americas, where we'll head to Mexico City to attack Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and I've accidentally clicked on the standings graphic. There we go. I accidentally just knocked my keyboard, but there we go. We're back to being Myth. Yeah, we're here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for today. My name is Max Ring. I'll be taking you the action alongside your usual, lead commentator, should I say. But due to technical issues, unfortunately had to get to the co-com. Myth, how are you on this Thursday evening?
I'm doing very good and glad to see that it's yet another F3 evening with some technicalities, as it usually is. But I'm glad to see that you stepped in. Hopefully that takes away the issues that we have during either quali or race, so we can fully enjoy that. Will also be the last race before the Christmas break. And Mexico, almost always on the season, ought to be a good one. And yeah, the top three only separated by 3 points in the championship as well.
Yes, super close at the top. Who will end 2025 as the championship leader, and who will end their year off in PSGL with a bang? Yeah, as the reigning race winner. You have a look at your standings now. Just before we head trackside, the drivers have just entered qualifying, but let's quickly have a dive into the points standings. Just that Elia, Largo, Dimas. 3 points separates our top three, with Tomasetto coming out on top out of the three last time out in Silverstone with a daring pass at turn 1 against Francesco Largo. That second place. He's on strong form at the moment. Then we have Jean Sos, who got promoted, so he is effectively out of the championship. Ave Gabadi will then be in the net 4th place. He is 15 points off the top. Then it's Vaso, Kokeni, Koya Vidler rounding out top 10. Gallané, who had such a strong race last time out, picking up that race victory after only scoring 2 points. It shows that, of course, you may not need to start your season strongly, Myth, with how everybody's being a bit inconsistent. That if you pick up a win when you need it the most, like Gallané did last time out, you potentially get yourself back in the championship.
Yeah, I think the main thing here is that you need to score points consistently. Dimas has done so far. He scored points in every race. I think he's the only driver in the championship. He is actually that has done so. But yeah, one of them a 10th place. So one race really that you can cross out for any driver. He hasn't gotten a race win though. That will still bite him a little bit. But we see Tomasetto Elia, he's got 1 first place, 2 second places, and 1 race where he was a bit lackluster. Lago didn't race in one of the races. And then there's an 8th place, and aside from that, 3 podiums, but no race win. Yeah, Dimas won 10th place, 3 podiums, also no race win. For Ave Gobadi, he's had a few more outside of the top 10. He's had 4 races outside the top 10, 3 within, of which 2 victories. And yeah, for Gallané, he did not participate. Well, he DNF'd in the first race, wasn't there for Belgium. Then 12th, 11th, and 9th place in Austria. Then he wasn't available for Spain, and a race win last week with a pole position to his name as well. So interesting stuff. But I think the main focus will be on Elia, Laga, and Dimas, and we'll have to see if more people are going to mix themselves in that championship fight, or if we narrow it down to these 3.
Yes, certainly shall, as we now head into qualifying. Zalan Bieda is the first driver attempting a lap here at the Mexico circuit as we now head at the middle sector. Of course, Zalan not had the strongest of seasons, a big snap as well from part of that there as he navigates his way through some traffic at 5.3 at middle sector. Not strong particularly from the Alpine thus far as he now makes his way through the next few corners, through the Peraltada, be the benchmark for everybody to beat. What's this going to be for Zalan Bieda as he makes his way to the line on 1 minute 14.2? I see that easily getting broken here, If I'm expecting drivers into those 13s. I say that, Francesco Largo, the man fighting for the championship, goes right to the very top.
Yeah, and I just saw Yves Gobadi having a huge moment in heading into the stadium section. So he has aborted this lap. He was 2/10 quicker up through the middle sector compared to Zalan Bieda. So it was not the best lap for him either. And he is going to retry that later on this session. Now I want to take a look at the other drivers as Ralston and Langrock have come through as well with an 8 and 0.8 respectively, as Tomas Kokeni goes quickest with a 13.6. But I want to see, let's see, Galinay, who was strong. He got the pole last season. He's got a 28.0 in the first sector, so about 3/10 off. I want to see Tomasetto Alai, our championship leader. He's on a 55.0 through that middle sector. So that's 3/10 up on Bieder's lap time. I wonder if he can improve enough in that final sector to come close to the man up on top as Piasecki goes into P5. Dimas now on to P5 instead, and Tomasetto Alai goes to P6. So it shows that in that middle sector, you need to be under 55 seconds if you want to go to pole.
Yes, it is super close throughout this field, and just those minuscule few tenths of a second, see yourself, unfortunately, basically just a bit of time that you on your laps, as you actually see on board of Galinay and Galinay, he's actually matched Daniel Coyer's lap time there, so they're both on a 14.098. 4 temps so far separate the top 10 from Kokeni all the way down to Victor Vidler. Both Galinay and Coyer just outside of that. Stephen Vassell, I think, invalidated. Yes, he did. So he's not set a valid lap time just yet. But for Francesco Largo in this qualifying session, out of the championship 3 so far, really has taken that upper hand. He's a 10th clear of both of his championship rifles, but anything can change. This circuit actually has one of the most, has the biggest track evolution on the game. It's one of the biggest when it comes to that aspect. So what we see now here, Myth, could be completely flipped on its head by the time we finish this qualifying session.
Yeah, and a man to definitely keep an eye on is Jeremy Galinay. He still set a 14.0, which is actually impressive given the fact that he was down 3/10 on pretty much everyone else through the first sector alone. So there definitely is more performance in his car, in that Red Bull, and we should see him fly up to the top 5 later on when he does his second run. Currently, almost everyone is in pit lane or entering pit lane. The only man out is Wojtek Steg. I believe dove in earlier. I think he might have invalidated. He's now entering that stadium section, the Forosol, before heading towards that famous corner, the Peraltada, where you definitely need to make sure you have nice grip. Make sure you clip the entry nice. Leave it out wide, as Steg does also nicely, and then power it down that main straight. We do see some dark clouds up ahead, but I think, Max, the way the qualifying progresses so far and the way the drivers respond, I don't think we're going to see any rain this session.
No, I don't think we are, especially with Steg going on the somewhat more later out of sync outlap. So he's certainly just not really worried about if any rain does come, which it doesn't seem so. It just seems that everything is just on the horizons. Come a little later on. It could be in the race. You know, a 27th sector now from Wojtek as he makes his way now through turns 4, 5, and now in the double right-hander of turns 6 and 7. Make your way down into tricky S section. It's so critical that you keep confidence, you keep up your speed. Again, another driver having a huge slide through that left-hander as he then opens up the DRS and into that middle sector split of 55.0. So he's still quicker than Zalan Bieda, even with that slide. That's the driver, of course, we're basing everything off, but he's about on pace with Thomas Seto-Alaya and also Alexander Dimas, as he makes his way through the Peraltada. Where is this lap going to put the Red Bull? Wojtek Steg, is it enough to break into the top 10? Yes, it is. He goes 10th fastest, just shy of Valentino Labella, the man who's picked up his only points in Austria so far, looking to try and pick up at least a couple more.
Yeah, this last sector seemed to be looking quite nice from the onboard, but he did lose over a 10th on all his nearest competitors. But the place where he lost the most time was in turn 7. He took the inside curb so much that there was a little grass on his wheel, and of course that hurt him when he was going through the SS section, especially turn 9 where he had a big snap oversteer, and that cost him a couple extra tenths. So there definitely is more in the car for Steck as well. The first sector is not that. The first sector, one of the quickest out there, with a 0.6. That's the first that we saw, at least. So first sector is good. Sector 2 and 3, some improvements can be made there, as most of the drivers are now out, at least in the top 8. Only Dimas still in. But I think for now, we should keep our eyes on Francesco Lago. We didn't see him earlier on, but I think if there's anyone poised to be that provisional pole set by Tommaso Kenny for now, it must be him.
Surely will be Francesco, of course. We did mention it just a bit earlier on when he set that lap. He is one of the championship 3, we could call them at the moment. Yes, there's still drivers well in mathematical contention like Abe Gabali, but they're those outside favourites at the moment. They're just on the fringes, but they need a good result here tonight if they want any chance of themselves be a real contender for the title. But we do have 3 that are certainly gunning for it, and this man is one of them. Francesco Lago gets us underway here for our next set of runs. So Myth, why don't you take us on board with this magnificent looking V-Carb?
I was just about to say, it looks like a Bubblicious, doesn't it?
It does. It actually does.
A little bit. All right, but here we go into the first SS, the SS Moshe Solana, as he makes his way through 2 and 3, and now onto the Recta Transera, having a huge moment, and he immediately abandons that lap. He knows there will be more in it, and if he takes his time now, actually track limits too, if he takes his moment now, he will have more time later on down the line. So we're going to flip instead to Seto-Alaya, who's not the next one in line, but definitely one of the drivers we should watch out for, even though Langrock is ahead of him, both the track and in the standings for now. But as our championship leader, should surely follow him indeed. He now makes his way to the end of that first sector, and he is on for 27.8. So that is still 10.5 slower than Steg did, but it's quicker than his own personal best. So maybe setup-wise, he's got a little bit less top speed to even that out in the middle sectors, where of course you need much more technical grip to fly through the sector. Also, Alaya takes a lot of the inside grass there, but he has enough car control to keep that car on track nicely without any snap oversteers. Now, and sector 2, that's a 54.9, half a tenth up on his own lap time. So he is improving, but not enough to go for a provisional pole for now. Is about to match Francesco Lago, as Dennis Langrock does do one better with a 13.724. But here he comes, Thomas Seto-Alaya to the line, and he takes provisional pole by 33 thousandths of a second. That, Max, was a masterful final sector.
That was a wonderful final sector from Thomas Seto-Alaya. You saw the commitment as Pazieski now goes to the top of the times by 5 thousandths. Kokeni was coming to the line. He couldn't find an improvement. We saw a big wobble out of the Peraltada. Rosen has just, he's actually invalidated his previous attempts. He won't be going again. What about Alexander Dimas in this? He's down by a tenth of a second in the middle sector. Is there anything to find in the final part of the lap? I don't think there is, because he's really overdriving this car at the moment. The car steps out every time he wants to flick the car through the corners, but is that just what he needs as he crosses the line? No, didn't actually find or lose any time, surprisingly, in that final part of the lap, as Faso now goes to the top on a 13.6. He's a driver still in play for the championship, and now he takes the top spot in a low 1 minute 13.0. About Abe Gabadi. He has invalidated his previous attempt as well. Unfortunately for him, Largo comes into pit lane, so he wasn't able to find an improvement on those older Senna tyres. I think that is everybody to the line, and it is going to be even Vaso, who's currently on that provisional pole spot. It's seeming like invalidations being very, very tricky for these drivers here, Myth. As Wojtek Steg is currently on his lap time and he's down in that middle sector and he's got a lot of traffic to work with.
Yeah, there were some drivers in the way at the start of the S's. I'm not sure if that hurt his lap at all, but he's still very, very close to his own personal best lap. Remember, we said his first sector was very quick. The last couple of sectors a little bit less. He had time to find that final sector. He does find almost a 10th in that final sector, but I think his setup is slightly more favored towards that higher speed, unless that aside from that mechanical grip. I'm not sure how that works for Piasecki and Vassal. Elia definitely has a little bit less top speed. We'll see come in the race whether that's going to help him out or not. But I think the main key here is that you have a setup that gives you enough control in regards to tire wear, because tire wear will be a big issue later on in the race. Of course, for the drivers, that is not something to worry about just yet. Maybe come in 4 minutes and 15 seconds when the flag falls. The drivers are now heading into pit lane. Almost everyone's already there aside from Steg. Once they leave pit lane, our final runs are going to come out, and we're going to attack that 1:13.609 set by Steven Vassal. I think, Max, there's a 13.5 on the cards.
13.5, could there potentially be a 13.4 if these drivers are able just to hook that lap up enough? I mean, it is so close still. Look at that, down to Galenay. The field is separated by half a second. 17 cars separated by half a second. That is quite something. And just look at that midfield from Jensen all the way down to Oleg Napodovsky. Just over a 10th of a second separating those cars as Abe Gabadi sees the first one out onto the road. Been the story of Gabadi's season, hasn't it, Myth? Where, of course, he's had those good spells in the past few rounds, but Silverstone, it did not go his way at all. At the start of the season, he invalidated pretty much every lap when it came to qualifying, and at the moment, that trend seems to be following. Now we go back to a circuit where invalidations are quite easy to pick up and are quite common. Gabadi just needs to sort this out, and he certainly could be a driver that, well, within the title fight.
Yeah, the main thing is here is if he can withstand that pressure or not. Of course, last week out was a bit of a lackluster performance. That dropped him out at least a few places. Good news for him that he's still within a shout of championship leader Elia. It's only 15 points down. But yeah, then again, had he won the race last week out, like he did the week before, he would be our new championship leader. So what he needs to do now is set a good quality performance, be there with the top 7, top 8 guys, make sure that you make a good, strong result, perhaps finish on the podium, and you really put yourself back in there. But if you bottle this qualifying session, you start towards the back of the grid, then you suddenly have a problem because you're not going to make your way up easily. We've seen Jontos try to do that earlier on in the season before he got promoted. He managed to go from about the final 2 places to P10. And for Gabadi, that could mean the difference between being inside that championship fight or being outside of it. So this third and final run is going to be also important for him. He's now about to enter the meeting grounds for that first sector, and with a 27.7, that's a pretty good sector time, Max.
It is quite good indeed for Abe Gabadi. Keep it valid through the middle and final sector, and he might have a very competitive lap time on the board. So as he makes his way now through those S sections, is this going to be enough for Abe Gabadi? Will he be displaced ever so slightly by the traffic? You can just see it all over the road. This is the issue. If you come out earlier than the rest, you do get caught up by the traffic. 54.9 in the middle sector. This is on par with stuff we've seen from Thomas Setuelia. Could Gabadi put out a lap of all laps at the death and somehow from nothing make something, making it through the final corner now? Can Gabadi take pole? No, just misses out, but still a top 3 start so far provisionally for Abe Gabadi. I think he'll be very happy with how this session turns out, no matter where he starts, because it was looking all doom and gloom, but he's surely going to be starting in the top 10.
Yeah, that was a great run from Abe Gabadi. Shows that he does not crack under pressure and is definitely on there for that championship fight. I'm currently looking at Francesco Lago, who went for 27.6 in that first sector, looking for 54.9 or 0.8. He's on for 0.7. He's almost a tenth up on his own personal best. And with that, he's coming awfully close to that pole lap time of Steven Vasso. Can he put that gumball on pole position? A little moment coming out of turn 15. But here he goes to the line. Francesco Lago on to provisional pole. We have a 1:13.538, but more drivers still to go.
Plenty of drivers still to go. Vasso can't do anything. He's out of qualifying. He's second fastest. Langrock, sixth fastest. What about PSGL? We didn't see his middle sector split. Kokeni to second. He just falls shy at the end as a Hungarian. What about the Polishman in the Haas? Can he snatch it back away from Largo? No, just falls short. What about Tomasetto Alai? He's off the road. One of the championship protagonists will not see any more of this session. Where is, of course, Alexander Dimas? He's retired from the session. He will start no better than 10th. Make that 11th, as that was Valentino Labella moving himself up to 8th fastest. Wojtek Steg, he's on a lap time. He's up by a 10th of a second in the middle sector. Can he find anything in the final part of the lap to challenge the front of the grid? Through the final corner he will go. Here comes Wojtek Steg. Can he snatch it away? 11th fastest for him. Galanay only 14th. Dimas at the moment is bleeding more and more positions. Bieda trying everything he can, but he's backed off his lap time. And for Alexander Dimas, it is just going backwards and backwards and backwards at the moment here, Myth. He starts down in 15th, and both of his championship rivals start in the top 6, with Largo taking a pole of all poles and a crucial couple of points to the championship battle.
Yeah, that's a great result for Francesco Lago in that championship fight, and now on pole position, picking up an extra point and now being only 2 points shy of Tomasetto Alai. Avgo Body is also up in there. We spoke about him, and Alai, championship leader in P6. But for Alexander Dimas, a is it 15 or 16 even? P15. He starts in tonight, 2.5 tenths shy of that pole position. But that means Dimas has a hell of a lot of work to do, because otherwise he's going to fall down even more in the championship. After last week, already didn't fully go his way. But the results for tonight, here they are. Francesco Lago's on pole position. Share that front wheel bit, Igor Perzeshki. Then it's Tomasko Kenny, Steven Vasso, Avgo Body in P5, followed by Tomasetto Alai, Dennis Langrock, Valentino Labella, Victor Whitler, and in P10, Jensen Rausen.
Yeah, there is Koya, Steg, Napadowski, Galanay, and Dimas. And we'll get through the rest in a little while's time. But yeah, that was this is a very important qualifying session. Qualifying is a bit more exaggerated on this game, you could say, Myth, just due to how difficult it is to overtake no matter what track you're on. So for Francesco Lago, he's done everything he needs to do. Got a good margin to Elia behind, who we know can make his way up through the field, so he can't rule him out yet. But for Alexander Dimas, after a disappointing Silverstone, he's not bounced back in the way you would expect from reigning F4 champion. And he at the minute is looking like he's slowly losing ground to the front of him, and could himself become, like an Avgo Baddie, an outside threat for the title, not someone you think definitely within the shot.
No, exactly. Now, Avgo Body has done great on that sense, but I just want to quickly go back to that pole lap time for Francesco Lago. His first sector was a 27.6, so it seems like he's got his car set up for a little bit more top speed than his nearest competitors, and that could be proven as a key factor later on in the race, as this track is DRS heaven with that long main straight, the Recta Principale, as one of the 3 main straights, followed by Transera and the Recta del Ovalo heading towards that stadium section. But in a moment, we're going to switch over to the lights, and then we will do our final countdown for this year. Not for this season, but for this year of 2025 here at PSGL PCF3, as it's Route 8 in Mexico. The lights go on with 3, 4, and 5 red lights. And away we go. There we are. Francesco Lago with a great start on the inside. Kokeni also powering up there, but Vasso having a monstrous start already side by side with that Alpine as they go all the way through. But there, Lago tries to go on the inside, around the outside. Piasecki wants to try and make a move. He is side by side. He is ahead of Francesco Lago, and he's managed to get the jump on there. Steven Vasso also on to P3. We see Tomasetto Elai going a little bit wide, losing position to Dennis Langrock. But for now, it's Piasecki who keeps that lead for now, as we have a dive to the inside by Tommaso Kenny, but he stays behind Steven Vasso for now, and Yves Body has gone through.
A chaotic start to this Grand Prix. Positions being moved everywhere you look throughout the field. To the inside goes Kokeni on Gabadi, and Gabadi holds on to the position. He moves himself up into that 4th place. The Bella and Steg go side by side through turns 9 and 10, and it's the Bella who just is able to hold on to that one, or is he? Because here comes Steg fighting back, and Boba might be going for a move as well, as we look to the outside with the Ferrari. To the inside is the Haas. The Bella falling backwards, as it's also Napadowski getting involved in this one. Dimas has been able to make it through unscathed in the mid-pack, but he's only stayed 15th so far. Not been able to make up any positions on this opening lap, but as long as he keeps it clean in the opening few tours, he won't matter too much, because you can make up those places within a few moments' time. Largo has nearly been dropped by a second from Igor Pajeshki, who's having an absolutely flying start to this Grand Prix. Everybody's we now make our way down into turn 1. Seems to be keeping it fair, keeping it clean. It's actually Galinay going for a move onto Victor Vidler. He now moves himself up into 13th, though he doesn't. They're still side by side now as they make their way up into turn 4. Of course, DRS will not be used until we go on that run into the stadium section. And look at that from Galinay. He's late on the break, caught out by everybody else in front, but still able to pick off the position.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there towards the back of Napadowski, initiated by Victor Whitler, now losing position to Alexander Dimas. Only his first position gained so far this race. But Piasecki, who's gained 1. Vasso and Gabadi also up by 1. 2 down for Kokeni. 3 positions gained for both Kyer and Steg, who are respectively 8th and 9th. 2 lost for Labella. 5 places gained. That's our biggest gainer tonight for Boba. And it's 6 down for Whitler and 9 down even for Jensen Rausen, who's all the way at the back of the grid. So not a great start for them, but Max, perhaps a more interesting factor. Every single driver is on the medium set of compounds. So strategy-wise, we're not going to see anything strange. I say that as we have one of the Williams diving in. I say that, so Williams, it's looking more like a McLaren, to be fair. With that, I think that's the Golf layout that they have. Looks very stunning. I'm not sure why he went for... the front nose wing change. So front wing change, onto the hards. Don't know if he can stay out all the way to the end, but for Galindo, he will be hoping for a safety car later on.
Certainly will. Of course, this race is actually going to be shaping up to be a 2-stop strategy due to the tyre, where some drivers might try the 1-stop. It is still possible, but a 2-stop is certainly going to be on the majority of these drivers' minds. That is what they're going to be potentially setting themselves up for today. Just be aggressive on the tyre. That will be later on down the road. Galindo will be on that too. They'll have to make 2 pit stops, if not 3 at this rate, just due to how abrasive this circuit is and how much wear the tyre gets put onto. But so far, so good for the rest of the field. Dimas was actually closely watching the battle between his teammates Napadowski and Jeremy Galinay. Wasn't able to make a threat or make a move at any opportunity there. So he's stuck behind his teammate at the moment, Francesco Largo. I think it's actually worked out better for him if then staying in front of Pajeshki, because he could save his battery, save his tyres, just stick at the DRS.
Yeah, I don't think Largo is concerned at any point for now in that pink racing bull. Most of the other drivers have started to a little bit settle in as well. Not too many overtakes have followed since that first lap. Of course, Rausen's got past Galindo with him taking that pit stop. But yeah, not too much has changed here since. So we will now see the full effect of that DRS train. Your entire top 18 within that DRS train. All the drivers on the same compounds and same tire age. So it will be strategy that needs to come into play if you want to change your position whatsoever. As Max already said, we could potentially see some 2 stops some drivers trying to go for longer runs and go for a one-stop. So strategy will be a key factor tonight, and that could make the race more interesting because the risk of a safety car is already very low. And if we look outside at those clouds, there's no clouds to be found at all. So rain definitely not going to come into play tonight.
No, it doesn't seem so, and if it was, you would expect a majority of the field to be starting on that harder compound of tyre. But so far, the only driver on that is Galindo after that first pit stop has made. For Igor Pajewski, he still leads the way from Francesco Largo, Stephen Vasso, Abe Gabelli and Kenny round out your top 5. Currently on Daniel Koya faces someone Malaya through the first sector, and for Tomasetto just to be biding his time in this one's lost a place to Dennis Langrock off the start, but there's plenty of time to go. I'm expecting this first stint here, Myth, to be very much a procession. The only real drivers making moves attention is the ones at the back, but at the front of the field I would just say expect everybody to be following one another. They want to go long and they don't want to use just.
No, I don't think so indeed. You're spot on with that. We do have to keep an eye on the Mercedes pairing because Napadovsky has gone within a tenth and a half in that middle sector onto Jeremy Gallané. So if there's anyone potentially trying to make a move, it's going to be one of the Mercedes drivers. He is trying to dive into that slipstream, so that is good. But he will be way too far away for comfort, although Alexander Dimas is getting within 2/10 now. He's going to go for a dive on the inside. He will not be, but he is getting awfully close to the back of his teammates. Aside from that, we do see some gaps around 3/10s, but even then, 3/10s is not close enough, and we see now diving within 2/10s. It's also not enough to get past with all the DRS that's being used. Fastest lap time set by Galindo. He's already chewed away 2 seconds out of the gap towards his teammate Ralston up ahead. So it does show that on the hards you can already push quite a bit more and set faster lap times. If he goes for a medium hard, maybe he can pull himself back in despite having that front wing damage so early on.
He certainly could. It depends on as well when a safety car comes out. If he somehow is able to get a lucky safety car when he needs to come in again, then bang, he's right back in for the race. But we'll have to wait and see. Napadovsky is a big slide as we hit the section. Got a little bit too outside curve on the end corner. The car just out from him. See everybody diving right hand side out of the slipstream, and they've got the DRS open down the main straight and also through some. That's the cool engine. Engines, especially more engine power, is a lot more critical. But it's not so much on the slipstream. It's about keeping the battery and then using that engine power that you have in hand to just outpace your rival. Or Napadovsky, so you could just starting to the right hand side. Your engines get too hot, especially around Mexico where it can get very hot. Start bleed second. How little engine power you do have, how little pace you.
Yeah, and because this circuit is located so high above sea level, it's another factor that makes for the fact that the engine has to work even harder to come out with the same performance. As a matter of fact, performance is already down compared to tracks that can be found on sea level. So that is another factor that comes into play. Another thing that drivers have to consider with their setups. The setups that, of course, we spoke about before. In the meantime, Langrock is starting to get a little closer to Kilkenny up ahead. We have a yellow in Sector 3. That is Oleg Napadovsky. Did he clip pit lane?
It went into pit lane and spun round. I was just checking the driver's chat to see if anything has been put in from Galindo or anything about what happened on the opening lap. Nothing has been. But I've just looked back on stream and Oleg Napadovsky was going into pit lane mid. And I think he's just overcooked it ever so slightly, locked the rear tyres, and he's just been reset onto the circuit. So for Napadovsky, from what has been such a horrid season so far, won it and has now really put himself out of contention.
Yeah, he's pretty much out of contention of points now. There's no DRS that he can play with through the 2 DRS zones that we already... No, 3 DRS zones that we have, of course. One between turn 9 and 10, one at the main straight, and that detection at turn 15 counts for both the main straight and turn 3 to 4. So the Recta Principale and the Recta Transera, where you have that DRS. So with the 3 zones, be very hard to come back, although he has cut down that gap by about half a second already. But this is the part where he's really going to lose time to everyone else. Alan Beater, in the meantime, is falling outside of the 1 second, and he's gone into pit lane. So that means that he leaves Lucas Beisner fairly vulnerable in the coming bits. But for now, because the DRS works for both Sector 1 and 2, Beater's actually retired. So I'm not sure why that happens. Napadovsky has now come in to go for a switch onto the hards. Of course, he will come out quite a bit behind Carlos Galindo. Carlos Galindo, of course. But I want to see how big of a gap that really is. Because if that's more than the roundabout 5 seconds it was, 5.5 seconds, he's going to be ahead quite a few of the drivers that were behind him. And indeed, he comes behind about 6 seconds. So I think with this very early pit stop, despite the fact that he had to change his front wing, he's had that superior pace. He's made up a bit of time already to the guys up ahead. And if Max, they have to go for a 2-stopper, Galindo will be within a shout of top 10 again.
Certainly could be. Galindo, of course, a man you can never count out. Any appearance, no matter what happens throughout a race, find a way. Here today is Francesco Largo maybe pushing to potentially come into pit lane this time around. Boba and Dimas come in. Rosen comes in as well. And here comes Francesco Largo on Igor Brzezicki. The switch, has it finally been made? He's to the outside line. The Haas isn't going to back it off quite easily. But Largo, that superior speed on the outside line, makes his way through. Have DRS as well to boot as we head up into turn 4. Him streak clear into that race lead. But is that now a sign he's going to come in this lap or on the next one, Myth? Don't make that switch certain. Lane.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we see that Galindo is slotted in nicely between Boba and Alexander Dimas. Boba was driving around the top 10 mark. Galindo just behind there. But on older tires, it will be hard for him to overtake, especially with him still not having DRS, at least in this zone, but will be having that in the next sector. So quickly going to go back to Francesco Largo to see if he's going to dive it into pit lane, because with Dimas going into pit lane, I think his championship competitors have to try and make a move. You're either going to stay out and go for a 1-stop, or you dive in now and potentially go for the 2-stop. He does stay out for now, but I see a McLaren already slowing down. Steven Vasso is coming to pit lane. Dennis Langrock follows. Tomasetto Elia also decides to follow. So 2 of our championship competitors have gone in, but championship second, Francesco Largo and race leader, stays out for now. Maybe next lap, Max.
Maybe next lap. Of course, 1 point separates Largo and Elia heading in the race after that qualifying. No, sorry, 1 point for pole position. 2 points heading in. One between Largo and Elia, as Boba's actually been able to get the jump on the Aston Martin. And actually, Elias fighting back into the first corner. There's some slight contact between the pair. Boba goes deep through turn 3. The good old up and under from Tomasetto Elia will be DRS open for the Aston Martin as he makes his way up into turn 4. Surely he's going to be able to get this one done, but Boba is not giving up without a fight. He's going to try and force his one to the inside. Forces Tomasetto off the road. And that for Boba is very, very risky defence. Something we saw from Max Verstappen not too many years ago against Lando Norris. That's certainly, if it goes to the might come under a little bit of fire there from the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, I think if you have to follow the rules as they're used in a real F1, I think that is that would have been a penalty for Boba. So we'll see what comes out of that. As a result of all this fighting, he now doesn't have DRS to the man up ahead, which is Dennis Langrock. So Elias should be able to fly by. But Largo, Piasecki, and Karev come in. I want to see where Largo's going to come out, because I think he might even be behind Steven Vasso. They're now going to speed down the main straight. Here comes Steven Vasso. Steven Vasso is your new provisional race leader as he pips Francesco Lago down that recta principale. So Lago's lost the position, but he's, well, within 3/10. I don't think is there any DRS? No, there won't be any DRS for either driver because, of course, Lago was too far behind the driver up ahead and Vasso didn't have DRS up in front. So on that side, that is good news. Gobadi has still stayed out together with Kokeni, Steg, Galanet, Whitler, and Beisner. All the other drivers have come in. Alexander Dimas finds himself in P14 for now, so he's ahead of Galindo, also Labella and Napadovsky, who were ahead of him previously. So he's gained 2 places. Alaya won't be happy with that pit stop because he's lost a little bit of ground. But for Lago, could have been much worse. And for Vasso, he's the big winner out of this pit stop sequence.
Yeah, he is very much the big winner from 3rd to 1st. And he has been able to put off a magnificent undercut with only 1 lap to do so. So he's really pushed on that tyre. Vidler and Galanet have actually swapped positions. They're 2.7 seconds behind their nearest rival of Wojtek Steg. Then you've got Kokeni and Gabadi who have stayed out even longer. Of course, these drivers here, if they are staying out longer, surely committing to the 1 stop. Whereas the likes of Vasso and co, they're all going to be on the 2 stop. So you could get to around about, I think, lap 16 to then go on to the 1 stop. I think it's 15 and 16. The 1 stop is possible. Go to lap 17 to be comfortable on a 1 stop, but 16 is definitely when you need to be in a good position on a 1 stop strategy. So if these guys that are so far staying out on the meet are able to do that, we'll see them gain 20 seconds on the rest of the field because they will have to come in again.
Now, the thing that I find most interesting now, though, is that Galindo has managed to come back into the race. He's now P15, stopping so early and changing that front wing. He's going to make another pit stop. The other drivers, likely, most of the field, going to make a pit stop as Kokeni now comes in. He's going to have another early pit stop, will have superior pace at the start, and the pace that he has now, well, it would not have mattered much if he was within a second of Dimas. But he might be able to claw back on time again when the others are on aging hards and he's on fresh hards. And that could mean that he gains a few more positions, considering it as a massive undercut, even though it's an alternative strategy. So I'm really curious where he's going to come out. Of course, at the end of the race, he's going to be losing time and perhaps some places. But this strategy at least puts him back with a chance of getting some points. We now see some more, well, it was... Where is he? Kokeni has made his pit stop. But look, Kokeni was in P5. He's now fighting Alexander Dimas for P12. Lost a huge amount of positions with that later pit stop. But surely he must be going for a 1 stop. Otherwise, stopping so late is going to hurt his chances for a podium.
Yeah, that is a bit of an odd one there from Tamas Kokeni. He could potentially just try to use younger tyres to slice his way through the field. But it's not by much on a field. We'll have to see what it is exactly that he's doing. Is it doing that 1-stop strategy or going for it 2? Gabadi, I think, can just about make a 1-stop work if that's why he's come in now. Mediums have gone off a cliff, and we'll see where he now comes out in relation to Tamas Kokeni. But for Steven Vasso, and we know that everybody who boxed before that is on a 2-stop, but now for Kokeni and Gabadi, if they're on a 1-stop, they're going to be really struggling come the end of this Grand Prix.
Well, Gabadi is going to be behind him at the very least. I see Dimas also flying by, so Gabadi slots in P12, make that a net P10. Stek and Beisner still need to come in. But yeah, that alternative strategy is something that they need to do. I hear from Jona Martens in the chat, though, that everyone is doing a 1-stop. That would mean that all other drivers have made a very early pit stop, making it a prime overtaking opportunity for Gobadi come to the end of the race. But I wonder if he hasn't lost too many positions by stopping that late. But yeah, if we look at the tire age, there we are. Some of the drivers, well, the first pit stop was 6 laps ago for Oleg Napadovsky, so he will need to do 27 laps on those hards. It's a fairly decent amount. Yeah, Galindo, of course, is going to come in, but he came in very early on with that front wing damage. For Dimas, he's got to do 28 laps. It's right around the cusp. I'm not 100% convinced. Maybe the tires will hit the cliff come to the end of the race. For Steg and Beisner, they're definitely going to make it to the end. But for the other drivers, I'm curious to see if anyone's going to attempt a two-stop or if they think this is the way to do it. Let's go and let's see where we end up.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either that is the one. What about what we saw Baddy and Kenny? Time. And then able to get. I'm very. Oh, that's actually a big send from Gabani to the inside of Alexander Dimas. He's gone off the road into the side of Dimas as well. They're two drivers fighting for the championship, and that nearly ended in tears. I don't know if Gabani was caught out under braking, or just went for the too hot. But for Abe Gabani, that was so close to disaster as he went into the side of Dimas on the exit of the corner. As actually, we also see Tamas Kokeni going for that move there on Daniel Koya. He's got to get that move done. He's forced the Aston Martin pretty much off the road. Kenny made it through. Up in 7th place. And these drivers that did come in that little bit later are now really starting to get their elbows out.
Yeah, if we now look at the positions gained so far for Dimas, strategy-wise, has been a pretty good race. Because remember, the first lap, he had not overtaken anyone. Now he's up 6 places. But our real winner tonight so far is Boba. He's gained 11 places so far. Started P16, and he's now in P5. Really great work from him so far. But he's also one of the early stoppers out there. So come to the end of the race, those tires are going to die out if he's not going to go for a two-stop. Vaso is also up by 3. He's made that undercut work on Lago, Piasecki, and also Langrock. Well, he was behind him, of course, but still made that work nicely to stay ahead by quite some margin. And we have our top 12 within DRS range of another. But Dimas has picked up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That is disastrous for the Mercedes driver, and that could very well mean that he's going to fall outside the top 10, lose a lot of points, and lose track of championship leader either Alaya or Francesco Lago.
Certainly does. He's actually still fighting with Abe Gabani, who's then off the road by the Mercedes. That is not going to go down without a fight, of course, but he's fighting championship hopes. Down to, and this is not how we want to go into the break. Looking at things, looking at as an outside favourite, back at what potentially could have been over the past 2 rounds. And there's Gabani to the inside line. Up in right place of Abe Gabani and Alexander drops down to 10th. Is now under pressure. Valentina Bella up in another move. Step from this potentially. Actually, I say that. Kokeni goes to the inside of Tomasetto Alaya, and that's another crucial championship lost by a championship protagonist. Because that's a position down for Alaya, whereas Lago stays in 2nd.
Yeah, so if the race were to end as it is now, Francesco Lago wouldn't be your new championship leader. But get that, without having a race win to his name. It would be his 4th podium. It would be his, I believe, 3rd, 2nd place. He's got 3 podiums so far, but I'm not sure if he's got 2 2nd places or 2 3rd places. I'll check that in a moment for you. But nonetheless, he has not been on the top step of the podium just yet. Alaya has managed to do so once. Dimas hasn't done so either. Abe Gabani's done so twice, but he's still 15 points down onto Alaya. And with now 2 positions down as well, would fall out of that 1 race margin. That might prove to be important come to the end of the season. Because after this week, of course, after our Christmas and New Year break, as we have a send down the inside from his teammate, Daniel Carr, making his life hard. And that immediately invites Abe Gabani to have another look. Want to talk about the championship, but we can't do that for now, as Abe Gabani's trying to fight with Daniel Carr. Wants to go round the outside of turn 6. He stays side by side. Darts to the inside, side by side they still go, and he will be on the right end, and he will be ahead. He is now in P8. Gabani driving aggressively, and Gabani makes it work.
He certainly does make it work. He's using those younger tyres to his advantage. And of course, Gabadi is fighting for the championship. Well, he may be on 15 points behind. Of course, Thomas Alaya coming into, I think. But even if he could just take that down by a few points, the top drivers in the championship, that's the 12 be fighting one come the end of the season. Now make our way through the Peraltada. Damash Kokeni, Thomas Alaya, Gabadi, all in this train, fighting forwards, looking to try and snatch anything they can away, more points over the rest of their competitors. Make our way now into the first couple of quarters. Galindo's retired from the race. Of course, he's on the 2-stop. Not going to work out for him. Make our way now out of turn 3. Is Kokeni going to be able to get this move done on Boba? And will Gabadi be close enough for a move on Alaya?
Yeah, Kokeni definitely amping up the pressure onto Boba. Boba, of course, on much older tires. But this retirement from Galindo, I think, says everything. We were talking about it potentially being a 2-stopper. We already heard Jona Martin speak of the fact that this would be a 1-stopper. And with Galindo retiring now in pit lane, I think that seems to suggest that we are indeed looking at a 1-stop. Because for a 2-stop, if the other drivers were going to do that, he would be well on for a top 10 classification. But with him stopping now, that won't be, as Kokeni goes round the outside into the Forasol, and he is now up into P5. So those younger tires are now starting to come into play. But can he gain back enough places to put him where he deserves to be? He's down 2 places still compared to where he started in P3. But he definitely has the speed to gain more, as it's actually Oleg Napadovsky coming into pit lane.
Napadovsky into pit lane. He was one of the earlier pitters as well. He's on 12-lap-old tyres. And now heading through the first few quarters. Gabadi's now made his way past on Tomasetto Alaya. So for Tomasetto, just like Dimas, he might also now just be championship chances, starting to slowly fade and more. And for Abe Gabadi, he's now behind his teammate Boba. Surely they will not fight too aggressively. Boba, no safe for Gabadi at this stage. It was tough defending from the man in 6th place against Tomasetto Alaya. Will it be the same for the time? Let's see what happens here. But also, you can't count out him if both Gabadi and Kokeni being able to make their way up to the front of this train and fighting with the likes of Largo, Vassar and Pajewski for that race victory.
Yeah, but now Oleg Napadovsky, of course, has entered a whole new of opportunities with him making that pit stop. So he's showing he's committing to that 2-stop. And now the question remains, who is going to try and replicate that and go for a 2-stop as well? If you want to make a 2-stop, you're likely going to come in within the next couple of laps if you're going for hards. If you go for mediums, you're going to wait a little bit longer, but I'm not sure if going for the mediums is a right strategy here, given with how tire life has progressed so far. But then again, most of the drivers were able to stick it out. No, actually, drivers were able to stick it for about 12 laps out there. So, it's going to be a tough ask. I still think that Martins might be on to something, meaning that it will be a 1-stop, as now Gabadi almost goes side by side with Boba. Boba got very close to the back of Tomas Kokeni. But yes, strategy is definitely looming over this race for now. The question that remains is, of course, who is going to go for a 2-stop and who's going to stay out? I think most drivers are going to try to stick it out there. One of the drivers that might surprise us could be Boba.
It certainly could be one of the drivers that could surprise us. Boba's had a really, really strong time of things. We say that he goes wide. The commentator's curse strikes, if not instantly, in this one. But he's still just held on to his...
Oh.
But no, he picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh, it all just went crumbling. As soon as we mentioned he could be somebody who surprises us in the race. So, you know what? I'll throw it exactly what he said and pick up a second time penalty. But for Abe Gabadi, he's tucked into the of his teammate. Is he close enough for that move in turn 1? Oh, Jink right hand side to look at everybody around about half a second behind from one another. Got Oleg Napadovsky as well. Can he make his way into the points? That's not quicker than the rest of the field. big margin to catch up.
Oh man, I feel so bad. I really jinxed that right at the moment that we thought, Boba might go for a different strategy. And off he goes in that Ferrari. Still keeps his position, of course. We now have our top 16 within 1 DRS train of one another. But last lap, Oleg Napadovsky was almost a second and a half to 2 seconds quicker than the man up ahead, Jensen Rausen. And with 13 laps still to go, those fresher tires might come into play if the other drivers don't commit to a 2-stop. But if they want to go for an extra stop, they need to do so soon. As we saw Kenny dart to the inside that stadium section. He stays behind Dennis Langrock for now. Lost an awful lot of time. What is that move from Abe Gobadi? Diving into the Peraltada. Side by side he goes with his teammate as Whittler's picked up a time penalty for track limits. He goes side by side still with his teammate, but that move was very, very risky. And I wonder if his teammates got something to say about that come the end of the race, as he now goes to the inside of his teammate, almost making contact here. Still side by side they go. There is no space there. Gobadi pushes his teammate wide and still has to stay behind, as now comes Tomasetto Alaya around the outside, has that overspeed. And Gobadi has to yield here. Oh, it's Alaya who goes wide, and Gobadi is still back in place.
Oh, it's 10 seconds to Alaya for cutting across the road, and it's all gone wrong for the man leading the championship. The championship leader has just seen it all go up. I don't know what happened there. I think he just outbroke himself under braking and thought, I'm not going to make the corner, so I'm just going to go straight across. Pray I don't get a 10-second time penalty by taking the escape road, but the game had other ideas. And for Tomasetto Alaya, unfortunately for him, that is really out of contention. I mean, he was able to slot in straight back behind Abe Gabani, so 10 out of 10 for that, to be able to find his way back into the train. But the big issue, well here, it's not about Alaya and penalty. It's for Gabadi. His teammate is fighting him so aggressive and not giving him any opportunity to fight for his own championship hopes when Boba's got side. That, yes, PSGL is very much all about the driver. It's not really a kind of thing. But when you are a teammate with someone in the championship, surely you want to help them ever so slightly and feel like you played a part in that driver win.
Well, I have to agree and disagree here, Max. Of course, I agree that as a teammate, you should help, especially if you're not in contention for the championship. But if we see the moves, the 3 moves that Gobadi made on Boba, they both came out of nowhere, and they both were really at places and in positions where you shouldn't be making an overtake happen, and that almost cost him to lose place to Alaya. And then Alaya just went off the track out of nowhere. I do think that he's going to appeal for that and have that 10-second removed, because it seems rather absurd that that 10-second would stay. But of course, that is something that the stewards have to decide. The game will add it for sure, but this also means that Alaya definitely can't go for a 2-stopper, because otherwise that penalty is added. Now, I don't think he's going to do that, but that, of course, is another thing he needs to think of. Rausen has actually gone for an extra pit stop. He's 7 seconds behind Napadovsky. But look at that, Napadovsky, 7.4 seconds behind Victor Whittler. There's still 10 laps to go. He's gaining by over a second a lap. And Napadovsky might be able to overtake a good bunch of them towards the end of the race.
Certainly could. It's here we see Wojtek Steg trying to go around the outside of Antina Lebeda-Rosen. Labadus Grand Prix, as to the inside there goes Steg. Lebeda cuts back across the curb and slobbers inside of the Haas, and through goes Jeremy Gallinay along with Luke Basner. Gallinay able to make his way up to the front. Here comes to the inside. Is that Kokeni? Something's happened to Kokeni. There's contact between Steg and Kokeni's down to 7th place. Something's happened to the Alpine. Was it Boba? Was it Gabani going for a move? What has just happened? Because he's now down into 7th. We were looking at the battle behind when the Alpine must have come to blows.
Yeah, I've not seen really what happened there either. I was watching the moves with Beisner, Labella, and Steg. Steg also going for a move that really was impossible and that initiated that contact. I wonder if any of the cars have got some damage there. If they do have damage, that surely will get reported later on down the line, as Abe Gobadi's now barging through.
Oh!
What's his teammate? And the wall, no!
Oh
Wait,
my!
what?
Oh, Abe
How did he do that?
Sorry about the cough, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Abe Gabadi.
I would love to see a replay of that. Of course, we don't have that. We have a safety car now. Galladay gets a 10-second penalty for a collision with Dimas. That must have happened in pit lane, but it looked like Boba put his teammate almost in the wall in the stadium section, and Gobadi retaliated into the Peraltada.
That is exactly what happened, I think. It was a bit of a boisterous exit from Gabadi, but they are going side by side through turn 13, and I think it's a little bit of frustration showing from Gabadi that not even just it's fighting so, but Boba this whole has been very, very feisty. He has been very much on the line of if that is legal or not. And I don't know if Boba was unhappy that he got 4 wide there and decided, you know what, Ave, I don't care that you're my... And then...
Yeah, but you want to know something interesting now?
What?
Alek Napadovsky will be back within contention now because we have a safety car out on track. So he's gone for an early pit stop. Other drivers have gone for an extra pit stop, so they will have fresh tires. But because it happened in the final corner, Vaso, Lago, Piasecki, Langrock, and Boba were unable to make a pit stop. We did see a pit stop come in from Elia. He's now in 15th, but Alexander Dimas finds himself in 8th. Napadovsky and Rausen are in prime position because Rausen took a pit stop a couple of laps before. Rausen is on, how old are their stars? He's on 3-lap-old mediums. Most of the other drivers are on hards. Wojtek Steg, the madman's on to softs. The other drivers are now going to come into pit lane. There was, of course, virtual safety car, but Oleg Napadovsky will now be our new professional race leader. I wonder, in comparison to Rausen and Dimas, where everyone else is going to come out onto. I think they will... Now, there will be ahead of Rausen at least, so it will not be heartbreak for them. So that is good. But your new race leader, ladies and gentlemen, is Oleg Napadovsky, who started in P13.
This is absolutely amazing. Is it going to be a pit lane spin to win from Oleg Napadovsky? Of course, if you were here earlier on, or if you weren't here earlier on, Oleg Napadovsky went into pit lane on the first routine pit stop, locked the rears, spun, got reset to the racing line, and had to do a whole nother lap, seconds behind the rest of them. He's then, of course, trying the 2-stop in the first place, but he's then, of course, come in again, put out a monster second stint. And he's put it, that's what's put him into the... He had that monster stint praying for a safety car. Gods have finally answered him after what has been such a horrid, horrid, horrid season. Words can't describe how terrible it's been. Napadovsky's luck has not been there all along. Is this...
Until now.
Finally, opportunity in the final race of the season in 2025.
You know who I feel bad for now? Carlos Galindo. He thought nobody was going to go for a 2-stop. He retired in the pit lane, and now 10 laps later, there is a safety car. If he hadn't retired from this session, well, he could have made the decision still to go for a pit stop or not. Had he gone for an extra pit stop, sure, he would be towards the back of the grid, would be P15 or P16, but would be on fresh tires without a gap. Had he stayed out, he would have been right around the place where I think Rausen is, or maybe even ahead of Napadovsky. So, mixed thoughts about that. We see some comments already coming from Gobadi and Boba into the chat. Gobadi very unhappy with the move that Boba made, and Boba seemingly unaware, at least for now, of what happened there. But honestly, Max, I'm really curious what the stewards have to say about this, because if this was a retaliation move from Ave Gobadi onto Boba, that surely must be a very severe penalty. I'm not sure what to make of it.
That is a very, very severe penalty. If that is the case, that should not be taken lightly. It's just one of those instances where, I mean, of course, Boba, I would say, I've watched it back, and Boba was forced wide, and I don't know if he's just floored it to try and keep ahead of Gabadi, and he's just naturally understood. of Ave, and actually narrows up, doesn't it? Exit. Be able to see it narrows up that outside wall, turning to any. There might have been that there, over, but that second part into the harder was a definite retaliation. Paddy straight into the back piece, he flipped his car over. Yeah, I mean, for Boba, he's still in this race, but Paddy, that's championship.
Yeah, I mean, if Lago picks up some good points, then where it was already 15 points behind, he's surely going to be behind 25 or even more with 3 races left to go. That is if there's not any race bans or whatnot coming in. If I look at the race director, it looks like, at least heading up to that collision, there's 2 times a warning for track limits for the other Ferrari man, Boba, and after which, of course, the contact came with GoBody that resulted in his DNF. Yeah, I really wonder what the stewards have to say about this. I would love to see a video on the stewards' inquiry so we can get the driver POVs on this incident. But this type of incident you definitely don't expect to see in F3. I don't even think in F4 or F5. But I think this is going to cast a shadow over this season, Max, especially with a potential championship protagonist being in the mix, as the safety car is now in this lap.
It certainly could. We'll have to see what this is out, but that's very much a turning point in this one. But Napadovsky back to Tiger Racing as Bert Highlander. Pit lane, and as he got, I thought he went early then. It looked like he went early on that camera screen. That's so he's from the Mercedes driver, but a big wobble from Napadovsky does not get his restart to any good use. And this might put Vassal all over the back of him as we make our way now down into the first couple of corners. He needs to navigate by the Mercedes as he can, and he looks to the inside line without a fight. Does Napadovsky go for this one? And it is going to be even Vasso through, and Napadovsky goes deep, and that's allowed Francesco Largo into second place. And Napadovsky, who we thought potentially could have been the chance of a race victory, if not a podium, it's all gone away from him in a matter of corners as Pajewski's now through.
Yeah, of course, the thing that we have to take into account is that his tires are much older. He's on 10-lap-old hards. The other drivers are on 3-lap-old hards, especially his first 5 laps or so. Well, there's only 5 laps to go, so all the remaining laps are going to be very tough for him, and he needs to stay within the DRS window of the drivers up ahead. If he can manage to do so, definitely a P5 or so is on the cards. The drivers behind him cannot come by him too quickly. Now, there's 4 penalties currently out there. There's 3 seconds for the likes of Boba, Dimas, and Whitler, and there's a 10-second time penalty for Jeremy Gallané. Oh yeah, of course, Tomasetto Elias so far back because he had to serve a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. But because that has already been done and dealt with in pit lane, that's not something he can protest for anymore. So whatever happened earlier on that led to the safety car could be really detrimental for Tomasetto Elias. He is our championship leader, but at the end of the race, Max, he's not going to be that anymore.
Oh, and Alexander Dimas won't be scoring either. So for Francesco Largo here, if he's just been free ride, free opportunity. So if not, just under a race. And that, this race right here, might have just a whole turning point in where it just becomes damage control for Francesco Largo at this coming off. A 4th place and a 3rd in the previous rounds. Eventually 2nd place. Back that up once again. Francesco Largo, he is certainly a very consistent man. May not have picked up a race victory. Once again, might just record a driver being consistent is key as Napadovsky goes wide through the stadium section. Through goes Dennis Lanrock. Mercedes driver is struggling as Buba will now see himself through on the inside.
Yeah, so Napadovsky's now losing a bit of time. He's already losing it in the sections where there's not any DRS. But the good thing for him is he now does have DRS on that main straight and can try to fight back. So maybe it was even a tactical decision there to let Dennis Langrock overtake. He has to brake very hard into the inside, smoke coming from those tires. He does stay ahead, at least for now, of Boba, but there's more DRS. And because Napadovsky was so much slower, the top three has now gotten a 2.5 second gap to the drivers behind. So the top three will be fighting for the podium places. The drivers behind won't be in contention anymore. And the longer you get stuck behind Napadovsky, the slimmer the chances of making it further up the field, as Napadovsky surely will lose a little bit more time. And with the penalties that come into play, this could be great news for Boba. As soon as Napadovsky loses that 1 second mark to him, especially if that happens in the next lap, a lot of time will be lost for Rowson. And that means that the drivers behind will be struggling more, as Kilkenny now is battling with Labella for P11.
Yes, around the outside now goes Tamash Kilkenny. Is he going to get this? A bit of contact made between the pair as we now make it way through the Peraltada. And it is Valentino Labella comes out on top there, but does he have DRS crucially to Lucas Basler? It'll be DRS open. Yes, it is DRS open for the pair of them. Boba's been able to get past on Dennis Langrock, but we are going to carry on with this battle between Kilkenny and Labella. Vidler trying to get involved too. Dimas has been able to make his way past as Kilkenny makes contact with Valentino Labella. Another driver he's made contact with, and for Tamash Kilkenny, he drops further down as Rosen is now under pressure from Jeremy Galilei, who's moved himself up into 8th, and the Williams driver on those old degrading mediums really started to struggle.
Oh, more contact! It was a send down the inside from Wojciech Stek onto Tomasz Kilkenny, fully clips him, and they slit at the middle of the track coming into turn 4. A whole lot of issues that we're seeing, a whole lot of contact that's happening in this final race of the year of F3. We saw some of the drivers up ahead losing part of a front wing. There's a front wing athlete lost for Tomasetto Elias, so he surely must have been involved with that contact as well. He is now about to be overtaken by Kyer. I wonder if they're going to do anything with that in regard to the drivers up ahead. Dimas has now crucially gone ahead of teammate Napadovsky, but look at that. He's already lost 2 seconds to Langrock and co up ahead, as Boba's trying to pull a gap onto Langrock as well. He just set the fastest lap time. He wants to try and catch the drivers up ahead. I don't think he can do so, but crucially, he has a 3-second gap to Alexander Dimas. So if it finishes with the gaps that we have now, that penalty only drops in 1 place.
It does only drop in 1 place, and this actually really work out well for Boba and also Alexander Dimas as well, because he's now got Oleg Napadovsky right behind him. He's 8, who's on very, very old hard compound tyres, and to the inside there goes Luke Reisner on Rosen for that 9th place. Got to get done around the outside through turn 6. If you can pull this one off, that'll be spectacular. Around the outside. No, he does not. Kilkenny picks seconds. Somebody else did as well, as actually Basler is able to force his way through to the inside there and made his way through, with Galilei picking up another 3-second time penalty. And for Dimas, he's only trying to string clear. I think he might just have enough to potentially stay in the top 10.
Yeah, those penalties coming in behind him are good news for him indeed. The next man with a penalty will be the likes of Wittler. Will be close if he finishes 10th or 11th. With the way the gaps are now, Steg has managed to get past Kilkenny. But of course, an inquiry will be launched into that later as well. A host of contacts that were made, but the top 3 still very close to one another. Vaso got within 2/10 of Francesco Lago up ahead, as we're now in the final lap of this race. Piasecki, Vaso, and Lago fighting it out there, but looks like Lago's got the upper hand, as he's now ahead, went a little bit wide into turn 4. But the last DRS zone is going to come too late. Boba still finds himself nicely in P4, but Langrock is within a shout of him. And with Boba having the 3 seconds to his name, definitely going to lose places if he doesn't lose more for that incident earlier on with teammate Avgo Body. But that's, of course, for the stewards to decide up to the front of the field. Francesco Lago leads coming in that final sector. It will be delight for that pink Racing Bull. A gumtastic race, we could say, from Lago. Was second in the championship. Got pole position here tonight for the second time this season. And Francesco Lago takes us to the winter break as your new championship leader and the first race win this season in F3.
Brilliant performance there from Francesco Lago when his rivals faltered. He did not hold back and he carried on with his performance. And he takes his first race of victory of the season and a well-deserved one too. Really on the pace. Long for Francesco Lago. That is how you capitalise on others' misfortune and take a champion heading in break. And it's exactly what you need when you're in a championship battle, is have a break of a week or a couple of weeks, no matter when it's in the period of a year, but able to take and then take that championship just under a race win. You're in the money, and Francesco Lago has done just that, and he can build off that into the final 3 rounds.
Yeah, he's now going to have a pretty massive lead indeed, because his championship competitors, Elias scored no points at all. Dimas only scored 3. So Dimas will be on equal footings with Tomasetto Elia, and Francesco Lago will be, if I count this correctly, 14 points clear of all the other drivers with 3 races still to go. So the best possible result that he could have, getting that race win here and his first race win of the season. That is Steven Vasso, followed by Piasecki, Langrock, Napadovsky, Beisner, Boba in 7th. Then it's Dimas, Ralston, and Labella. Outside your top 10, Kyer, Whitler, Tomasetto Elia, Wojciech Steg, Tomasko Kenny, Jeremy Gallané, and our DNS tonight, Galindo and GoBody, of course. But there were quite a few incidents, Max, that are going to end up in the stewards' room. I think incident-wise, we've almost seen half a season worth of incidents in one race, with some, perhaps the worst I've seen. I think, well, to be honest, between the Ferraris, I think that's the worst incident that I've seen in about 5 or 6 PSGL seasons. So I'm really curious to see what is going to happen with that. I quickly want to come back to Steven Vasso as well, because Vasso, I believe, was 6th in the standings. He was 23 points behind Lago. He's now going to lose only 4 to that. So in 27 points, he will be ahead of Abe GoBody now in a championship fight. So he will be realistically 4th in the standings. So Vasso is still within a shout. GoBody is pushing those margins. Kokeni, no, he's going to be within, outside 2 races worth of points, more than 30 points behind. But for Lago, this was all he could hope for and more.
It is exactly what he had wanted. An early Christmas day for Francesco Lago. And that's exactly what he's worked perfectly in his hands. He has, and now every race, it doesn't have to be a damage control, podium, anything got it to at this stage. Even if he outscored Elia and Dimas even once rounds and then podium rest, he's gotta be the prime opportunity to take this title. It's through anybody own, but in fact he's so always been missed the race fighting in the front. Apps master V-carb driver and Lago at a champion fight, and Lasso, I think for him it's going to be 2nd place championship, but do have the top 3 in the waiting. Shall we start off with 3rd place man here? Francesco, I'll go.
Let's do so indeed.
Right. Hello, Igor. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hello, congratulations on that 3rd place. Just talk us through that one. How did things?
Yeah, that was pretty good race for me. Unfortunately, P3, but yeah, I think we could fight for the win, but I was just a little bit unfortunate with the safety car, and yeah, my restart wasn't good after it. So yeah, I take it. It's still a great result.
Certainly is. Heading into the break. Just how crucial it is to enter a few off with. How crucial that to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think it's very good for my like mental to train even harder during the break, and yeah, I hope to get even better results after it.
Hopefully, led the race. A majority of it at the very start, it was very much just go up at the front. Just what was the overall strategy? Me and Myth were talking a lot about the 2 stop, but then turns out everybody was on the 1 stop. Was it sit behind in that 3rd place about the safety car? Sit behind in that 3rd place and then push on in the final few laps, or was the goal just cement down a podium and make sure you get a strong result?
I was hoping, to the 2 guys in front of me to start fighting on the last lap, and to snitch overtake them, because in that game when you are P3, we have seen that after the safety car restart, like it was very difficult to do even something. So yeah, my strategy was just to wait for them to start fighting.
Yeah, that strategy, it may not have worked out in the end. Certainly, probably was the best strategy. Did work out in your favour. If
Yes, just a quick one for me, because PSGL, of course, this is your first podium of the season, and if I'm not mistaken, your first podium in F3 as well.
Yes, you are right.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming. Your qualifying performance has been quite good. Were you happy with qualifying today?
Yeah, it was quite easy pole position, but I messed up in the sector 3, and yeah, but still happy with the P2.
Glad to hear. Well, that's at least every question that I have so far, Max. Hopefully, we'll see you again here in the commentary box soon, Igor. And yeah, good luck on the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
that was 3rd place, Igor. Now here from the man who 2nd place and just lost out on that race final lap. Lasso.
I mean, that's a really good lap for Leo in session. That's really good.
Hello, Steve.
Hello.
What was you just talking about there with Francesco?
Oh no,
Give us some
I was
insight.
just talking about like the comparison between F2 and F3 like times in quali.
Was it close again?
Yeah, how close was it?
No, it wasn't that close. We were just talking about like I think everyone might have bustled a tiny bit in quali. It was like just under 2 temps away, but yeah.
No,
So it wasn't the closest.
Heard from Igor.
Yep.
Could have been some, but anyway.
Yeah.
On to the more. Of course. Congratulations on that 2nd
Thank you,
place.
thank you.
Just talk us through that one, Steve.
To be honest, it was really just simple. Just like I made up one position from the start, and then from there, I just saved, and then I knew P3 was like a good position to go for an undercut, which I did, and that got me to P1, and then from there, I guess it was just saving, was a bit worried about some of the overcutters like Ave and stuff, but I think he got damage. But then yeah, it was just saving, and then safety car came out. It was okay. And then I pushed a little bit too hard at the start of the safety car, so then my tyres were like bad for the last 2 laps, and then I made a small mistake because my tyres were just a bit too hard to drive, and then I lost the P1. But yeah.
Down to that final lap, was it? Of course, you. Was that purely just to try and break the team? Right, escape
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah. I thought I would get past Oleg in the turn 1, but I think he might have outbroke himself. I'm not really sure what happened on the restart, and I guess everyone just got past him then because they had no grip. But then yeah, then it was just. In hindsight, I probably should have saved at the start, but yeah, I can't really do much about it now.
I mean, yeah, Oleg just he went deep. That's all. Went deep. I'll go to follow you. So that plan could have worked. A little bit too hot, but of course you had that safety car to deal with. Or you did a undercut strategy, actually. How annoying in a sense was that safety car, or was it actually a blessing in how guys were starting?
I'm not too sure how it would have went, because I think it didn't really help either way, because I think maybe Francesco would have had a slightly better tyres than me because he was behind me and he could save a bit more than me before the safety car. But I felt like my tyres were in way better shape than they were at the end for some reason. So I think maybe there was a chance it would have been a bit easier for me to save P1 if I stayed where I was before the safety car. But yeah, I think I still probably would have ended up P2 because he had a tyre saving than me today.
Going into the break now, first of all, how crucial to go into long break? Second of all, plan for the next 3 races out there.
Yeah, pretty much. I just want to try to get as much points as I can. So if there's any chance like that I'm able to get promoted, even though it's probably unlikely from how bad a few of my races have been this season, but if I can get a few good results for the next 3 races, that'll be very good. And of course, this gives me better momentum for those races.
If any.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there. Of course, I'm not sure how busy you were with the championship fight, but before this race, you were 23 points shy of championship leader Tomasetto Elia. That is now, of course, going to be Francesco Lago. You'll be 25 points behind Lago, but more crucially, to the men, I should say, Elia and Dimas will be on equal points. They are only 11 points ahead, with you now 4th in the standings.
Yeah. I think that's really good considering how bad some of my races have been this season. Like Kota, when I just got damage on lap 1 when I was in like P2, and that ruined like 12 points away as well there. So I made a few other races as well, but yeah, it's good.
Well, hopefully we will see you here in the commentary box more often, and I think the push for a good championship result is still on. So best of luck practicing in this break, and I hope you come back even stronger.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Right, that's so. And now, finally, we'll bring into the commentary. Then championship Francesco Lago. Championship has to say R3. Hello, Francesco.
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we perfectly fine. First of all, congratulations on that race fix. How good does it feel? First at such an important time in the chat?
Oh yeah, it feels really good, especially seeing my momentum in the last couple of races was kind of falling off. I didn't really have the pace I wanted to have. I feel like Spain should have been already my first victory of the season, given my pace, but then the race didn't go so well. So I'm really happy and relieved to get a first win in F3, as I think I should have won a lot sooner. But really happy to win in such a crucial moment of the championship, and yeah.
Came into the evening 3 points behind. Are you just how good is it to go into a couple week break? Such a big advantage, rounds to go. Is that to be damage control now for the rest?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I need to go into damage control. I'll just try and get top 5 every race like I've been trying to do whole season. I think I have the pace to get top 5 in every track, especially seeing the last few tracks. They're not my best tracks, but still I can get a good result. It'll all be about beating Elia and Dimas, I guess, for a championship. And then, yeah, maybe try and win a couple more races if I can without taking too many risks, especially in tracks like Jeddah where chaos will be surely provided.
About the race. Has a very good qualifying take. How you're seemed pretty following the car in front and then making had to. That pretty much the plan you had in mind?
Yeah, the plan was to get through turn 1 safe, and I wanted to be P2 actually, so I was kind of happy when Igor went for the move. Otherwise I would have just had to let him go, and it would have been really risky, because I knew from P2 you could just save so much more tires, and that's what I did. Then I'd say my worst moment of the race was when I actually overtook Igor, and I locked up a couple of times because I wasn't really used to pushing it to the high bias I had to use to save tires, so I kind of bottled that part. But then when I came out, it was actually a blessing because Vaso came ahead of me, so I could stay behind him. And I think without the safety car, it would have been a bit easier even to win, a bit less sweaty, because I know I was saving so much more than the guys around me. I knew like Igor was on 6-7% more than me on the tires, and I guess Vaso was even on higher tire wear. So I guess I could have won a bit more easily, but then the safety car came out. I was kind of disappointed. But then I saw Oleg go straight, and I was like, this is a blessing. I have a chance, because I thought Vaso would just camp behind Oleg for the rest of the race. But then, I don't know, I guess Oleg let us go because I didn't really see him locking the tires. I don't know, maybe he forgot 70 bias, but I think he let us go not to interfere with the race. And then, yeah, he was a bit all over the place in the last especially, so I knew I could just stay close and try and overtake. He had a bit of a moment, so it was pretty easy to overtake in that regard. I actually had a moment on the straight because I wasn't sure where to go, inside or outside, so I kind of had to avoid him a bit, so that wasn't great, but still a really good last lap, and finally I win.
Expertly done from strategically all round action. If is any question.
Well, of course, I want to congratulate you as well on that first win of the season. Now 14 points clear of your nearest championship competitors. Elia and Dimas are on equal points if the results stay as they are, of course, with the, well, we could say sort of chaos that ensued behind. You did not have to worry about that at all. You just had a pretty clean race out there. Hope you enjoyed the fight all the way through. But I'm curious about the tracks that are yet to come. Which one out there is your favorite, and where do you think you'll do best?
I'd say Jeddah might be my favorite. They're not really good tracks for me, but as I've seen this season, sometimes my great tracks become bad tracks and the opposite happens, so I guess we'll have to see. I think I don't want it to go to Abu Dhabi because I already bottled the championship against Elia in Abu Dhabi, Race Tech Championship for SCI, so I don't really want to repeat that. So I'd be really happy if I could clinch it in Brazil, but we'll see.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, that rounds off the questions for me as well. So back to you, Max.
That's gonna. Hopefully, you get to wrap it up before Abu Dhabi. Never know. We'll see what will happen. But yeah, good luck for the rest of this. Back in and have a new.
Yeah, you also have a good holidays. I'll see you in January.
That's it now. To be it. Run you through calendar for the rest of the. As you can just had that Mexico race. 8th round of the season. Head in. Have for the festive. And then, of course, PSGL will be back first with the Mexico side, with PlayStation at Mexico. Us are back next year in Saudi Arabia. And then we head to Interlagos for round 10 and a round off the away real life season finale, Abu Dhabi. Well, Myth, I think. Well, actually, one more thing, ladies and gentlemen, before I pass it back over to Myth. Make sure to check out Sim Racing Setups. So for any pro setups, all for $49.99 Great British pounds. I don't know what that is in euros or dollars. Don't ask me. Look for your conversion rates. But go to simracingsetups.com. Use code PSGL for a 5% discount. You get esports and stable setups, quality race and wet setups for every circuit, along with race strategies, and they get updated with every single little nook and cranny of a meta change. So they are constantly within the power cycle. They could battle on all consoles and PC. And of course, it's made by drivers that race here in PSGL and also esports drivers too. But yes, that's going to be all, Myth. Is there any last words from you before we round up?
Yes, of course. Make sure that after this you tune in with F2 or F4 to see our other favorite drivers out there battling it out. They are now heading into race as well. They've just finished qualifying. For us here at F3, that will be all. What I'd like to wish you is a very happy holidays, Merry Christmas for next week, and of course in 2 weeks' time, a very happy New Year before you see us return in 3 weeks' time with round 9. And then it's straight to the end of the season with round 9, 10, and 11, where we'll have our championship fight. And as we just heard with Lago, the question will be, does the fight go all the way to Abu Dhabi, or will it be cleared before?
Firstly, question answered. I'm out. Yes, you did hear me right. Don't celebrate soon. 3 weeks. But no, on a serious note, have a good holiday at Christmas, everyone. Have a very good. And we shall see you in 2026. Will Largo start the new year with a bang and win the title? Or others challenging Elia, could Dimash, could even Vaso fight back? Decided it. See you in time. Make sure you be safe. Stay well. 4th of January. Time or 8 PM Indian time. But anyway, that's enough from us now. It's your 3 weeks of peace. I'll see you in it then. Thank you all very much for watching.